What makes SEC football so exciting? It's the pageantry, their tradition, the excitement, the desire to win, and especially the partying. In each episode, I will focus on each element to give you the best perspective of what Southern football is all about. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you on Stingray on the Street. M-I-C-C-O-U! Hello, and welcome to the first Stingray on the Street. Now, we're going to be talking in this episode about the big game tomorrow night between the Missouri Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Alabama and Missouri have faced off 5 times before. This will be the first one ever in Tuscaloosa. It will also be the first one here in Tuscaloosa as a member of the SEC. Now, Alabama does have a 3-game winning streak in the series. So what is the pulse surrounding the game? Let's go find out. I'm here with Jacob, and what is your last name? Kindred, okay. And you are a student here at Alabama, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what year?
I'm a junior.
I got you. All right. Obviously, Alabama's coming off a huge win up there at Arkansas, but they gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points. Does that worry you with Drew Lock and Missouri coming in here tomorrow night?
Well, Drew Lock's a really good quarterback. I think he's one of the better in the SEC. They'll probably go downfield a little bit, but I think Alabama's defense will be able to contain them to about 21 points or so.
And so you think they're going to try and attack the injury that Alabama suffered with Trevon Diggs?
I would imagine so. Alabama's been susceptible to big plays all year, and so this injury just adds to that. I would think they would want to go downfield.
All right. Obviously, Missouri likes to change up their uniforms, and Alabama is usually a traditional crimson and white uniforms. Would you like to see Alabama maybe go to a different or a combination of uniforms, or do you like the way it is?
Well, some schools, that fits their style. It fits to change up for like an Oregon or a Missouri or a Kentucky. But Alabama is all about tradition. That's what the program's based on. So I like the uniforms as they are.
And so are you a fan of Missouri and teams that change them up?
I don't hate it. I like it all right.
I got you. All right, well, give us your thoughts on the final score prediction for tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, I believe the score will be about 51-24.
All right, and obviously a couple years ago there was a debate about whether Texas A&M and especially Missouri should be in the SEC or not. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think Missouri fits in well in the SEC, or should they have stayed in the Big 12?
Well, I think Texas A&M fits in a little better than Missouri does, but Missouri won the East, 2 years in a row? They've held their own for a little while, and they had a decent offense and a decent team for a couple of years there. If they can get back to that level of competitiveness, I think they'll have earned their place in the SEC East.
All right, moving away from Missouri for a second, obviously some big games still loom on the schedule. Of course, you know, you have LSU, Auburn here, and then possibly Georgia in the SEC championship game. Who do you see as being the biggest threat for Alabama coming up?
Well, the Iron Bowl is always going to be Alabama's biggest threat because you never know what happens in terms of a rivalry game. But playing at LSU, especially if that becomes a night game, I can see a lot of potential trouble there.
We're going to sit back in the next 4 hours. We're going to talk a lot of Alabama Crimson Tide football. Got a very dynamic guest lineup for you today. We'll talk to Drew D. Armand, Drew D. 977 ESPN on the Twitter account. Drew's going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll break down all the latest involving the injuries, defensive philosophy, where exactly we're going to go on that side of the football as Alabama gets ready to welcome in the homecoming opponent, the Missouri Tigers, coming to town. 29.5 points according to the experts in the desert. We'll break that game down. So the claim to fame here is Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show. We've been around since Mike DeBose got fired in 2000, so we've been around quite a bit. I do a daily afternoon radio show 2 until 6 p.m. on Tide 102.9 in Tuscaloosa. Well, I think you take a couple of minutes and you respect Drew Lock. I mean, he's one of the best in the country. We talk about NFL potential. He's got a big arm, can find those open receivers. When you look at Drew Lock, though, I think the worst thing that could have happened to Drew Lock is Alabama not playing up to a standard that we've come to expect here in Alabama football. So you look back at Alabama's defense going up against Arkansas, really a disappointment when you think about the 31-point. Even Nick Saban followed him in the game. What did he say? He said, when you give up 31 points, you don't feel like that you beat anybody. So thinking of that standard and talking about 31 points, I think that would probably was a bad move for Drew Lock, because I think this defense will be ready to play coming up tomorrow evening inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Trevon Diggs is certainly going to be missed. His experience, his leadership back there. But I think Alabama will be fine. But you know what? Drew Lock presents a really good challenge for the secondary, because you'd much rather find out against Missouri than you would against Mississippi State or any of the other opponents left. I think Alabama's going to beat Missouri. I mean, I think Vegas has it at 29.5 points. I think a lot of respect goes to the Tigers, but at the end of the day, I think Alabama's the better team. I don't think Trevon Diggs is going to swing that one way or the other. Well, I think if you talk about communications, in that secondary, which has been a problem when you talk about the youth. And you say it in a nice way, because there's a lot of talent on that field, but to play as one unit. You look up front, Quentin Williams has had a great year so far. Maybe not what you would expect from some of the linebackers. That was certainly going to be a problem that they'll try to fix. But defensive backs, you've got to be pleased with what Deontay Thompson and Xavier McKinney has been able to give you at the back end. You're just going to see if Savion Smith and Patrick Surtain, when you look at Shyheim Carter, Nigel Knott from the state of Mississippi may have a role in this game. I know Saban talked about him last night. Some guys are going to be asked to stand up that, when you think about being asked to present a challenge and you're asked to go up against one of the best in college football and throw on the football. I mean, that's not an easy task. Drew Lock, I'm sure, will find weaknesses, chance to expose Alabama's defense, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be enough. Absolutely not. No way. No way. Don't ever change the Alabama uniform. There's certain brands that I think that you can switch up, and it's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with other teams doing it. Right. But as far as Alabama, if you flip on, you're going to see Penn State, right? You see that typical uniform. To me, Alabama's in that same conversation. I don't think they need to flash and dash. I mean, to me, that's left for other teams. I don't have a problem with other teams, but I sure don't want to see Alabama flipping around with their uniform. Pray. That's where I would start. Divine intervention is the way that Missouri would be able to beat Alabama. No, I mean, in all seriousness, 5 turnovers, something like that. I mean, you give Drew Lock 5 extra opportunities, he could make you pay. That would probably be really the only way that I can see Missouri beating Alabama is if Alabama gives them a lot of turnovers. I think Alabama's challenge is Alabama, and I know that sounds odd, but as long as they play up to the standards been created in these first 6 games, I don't think anybody can play with them if they played their game. Right. What you have to do, and I think someone said it last week in the Arkansas game, is you've got to depend on Alabama to beat themselves. And if they don't do that, if they don't help you beat them, you're not going to beat them. If Alabama comes out and plays their style of football, I think this is Alabama's year. I expect them to be in the national championship game. I expect them to win it all if they play Alabama football. But it goes back to what we were saying. You give quality opponents 5 turnovers like they've done in some previous games, anybody can beat you if you give them the other opportunity. All right, so let me give you a couple of different things. Dixieland Delight, I had no clue until about 3 years ago that the lyrics were the way that they were. I don't like the lyrics. I think, listen, Alabama's got so much class. I've never been one of those that, and you will not find anybody that dislikes Auburn more than I do. I hate the bunch, okay? Right. Wouldn't pull for them if they were playing Saudi Arabia. But at the end of the day, I also don't want to say, some of the things that has been said. So that's just not really my style. Some people may they like that type of stuff. I'm not one of those. But when you look at Dixieland Delight, that's why it was taken away, because of some of the things that were said. And so I guess now when we talk about it, hopefully, I don't have a lot of confidence that they'll keep it the right way. But it's good to have it back. I mean, it's a big excitement, a lot of atmosphere, and a lot of fun. When you get inside Bryant-Denny Stadium and Dixieland Lights being played, I mean, there is no better environment in college football when you have Dixieland Light going up. So looking at Alabama, I like 48-21 has been my prediction. 48-21, it's very close to where Vegas has got it at. That's where I'll stick. 48-21, Alabama gets the job done.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hey, thank you guys for swinging by. I appreciate you guys.
Now, obviously, as you can see, a lot of Alabama fans don't give Missouri much of a chance here tomorrow night. Now, of course, Drew Lock and the Missouri Tigers might actually have something to say about that, but I really hope you have enjoyed this episode, and check out next week when I'm going to be over in Oxford, Mississippi, doing one for the Auburn and Ole Miss game. We'll see you then.